Welcome to another podcast with On Occasion. I'm Canaan.
And I'm Chris.
Hey, we got to do our cheers.
Okay. This is
Clink.
clink. This says this is my wedding cup. I got this when I was engaged.
When you were caged?
No, when I was engaged.
Engaged. Got it. I'm sorry. I
Man,
misheard.
Sometimes you say things and I think of all these crazy stories that I shouldn't talk about. So I'm just not gonna.
We're going to avoid talking about when you were caged in the context of that.
Correct.
For now. We'll talk about it after and see if we can fit it into another episode. Anyway, welcome.
Thank y'all for being
Welcome to another podcast. Hey, it's been a wild last couple of weeks.
Yeah, we've been traveling.
Yeah. Savannah, Hilton Head, San Diego. We're finally back in town.
Atlanta. I don't want to leave that out.
Atlanta.
A-Town.
Shout out for A-Town.
Yeah.
We actually spend quite a bit of time throughout the year in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm from there.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about for work, too.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so, we're going to get going here in a second talking about, we're going to talk about wedding guests, some stories we have, but also just maybe some do's and don'ts. Things we've noticed over the years.
Mm-hmm.
But if you'd like for us to talk about something, put in the comments, something related particularly to weddings or events, or maybe just, conspiracy theories.
Oh, yeah,
We could go for a while.
Yeah, we could talk about, there's a lot of things we could talk about.
Was it just one shooter,
Yeah, I mean,
did you see the path
who was
that
the
bullet
second
traveled?
gunman on the grassy knoll?
Anyways.
That's my question.
But that's not nearly as exciting as what we're going to talk about today.
Right, which is wedding guests. And for vendors and couples alike, wedding guests can be a real problem.
And they're going to show up. They'll be there.
To every wedding you have.
Yes.
The wedding guests will be there.
Unless it was COVID. But let's keep going.
But yeah.
No one cares about that anymore.
No, we don't want to bring up
all right,
that
we
dark
were going to
period
talk
of
about
history.
do's and don'ts for wedding guests, but you're all kind of sane people, right? You know what the do's are.
Maybe.
Oh, you want to talk about some do's?
I don't know. Here's the thing. We looked up some normal ones and then we compared it to our personal experiences. And interestingly enough, there's some things on the do's that you would think are common sense. But apparently, if it made it on the internet as hey, here's something you should do, then there was enough people not doing it that it needed to be said. Which isn't for example,
do you wear pants.
What?
Keep going.
RSVP. Let the couple know you're coming. I have a story about this. I can share.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
So this is why it's important to let the couple know you're coming. Now, this was a cultural wedding, so this might be a little unique in its circumstance, but we did a wedding some years ago in Atlanta, big Indian wedding. And original call number was 500 people, but what ended up happening was 300 other people just showed up to the wedding reception. Really baller hotel, downtown Atlanta. Fantastic wedding. But what happened was 300 guests showed up and the catering had not enough food for 300 extra people. So they were basically...
Wait. You said 500 people, but then 300 showed up?
But then 300 other people.
Oh, extra.
Extra.
Wow,
so
that's popular.
Basically the high school party situation where parents are out of town, throw the party, word gets out, you invited, your people, but then the texts start flowing and all of a sudden 300 extra people show up and trash the place. That's what happened here. And because of that, there was no food.
Been there.
You've been to a situation with no food?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Where all the food ran out, and so the grooms and all ran out and bought 50 pizzas.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually a surgeon. It was his surgeon's wedding, so it was kind of funny. But
yeah, that is funny.
The only Indian wedding I've ever booked, I remember when they booked me, at the time I was charging $3,000 a wedding, and the consult, they were like, yeah, we also just rented an elephant for $20,000 for the day.
Yeah.
And that's when I thought, man, I'm worth 1/6 the price of an elephant. I'd like to be a little worth a little more.
And that was one of the things too is
they canceled, so it never happened. I never saw the elephant.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Was that an Atlanta wedding?
The only time I see, yes.
Maybe we got it.
Well, they canceled the wedding.
Oh, they canceled the wedding.
Correct.
Did they say why?
I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
Wow.
But now I see elephants on Miss Rachel on YouTube, so that's cool. She talks about elephants.
Who's Miss Rachel?
You don't have a 1-year-old.
Oh, there it is.
Anyways.
Yeah, I don't have a
Okay, keep going. Do's, don'ts.
So that was my first do. RSVP, let people know you're coming. in addition to that, don't bring or invite guests that aren't invited to the wedding. So like if you're a couple of the people who are getting married are like, hey, this wedding's for you. We don't have space for a +1. Please bring yourself. You'll be able to hang out with your cousins or your friends or whoever from college. It's going to be great. Please listen to that.
Or if you're single and you don't get a +1, that's just your lot in life at the moment, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
I've been there.
You were there for a long time.
I was there for a long time.
Yeah, long time.
Yeah. That's why I started photographing weddings. So I didn't have to just go to a wedding.
The other thing is, no, I lost it.
Okay. I recently was at a wedding, it's a country club wedding, and this guy sat right on the aisle and he was wearing blue jeans. And everyone else was like decked up, like wearing, wedding clothes, suits, a couple tuxes. So when the bride and groom were coming down the aisle, I'm getting like this great, he's dipping her kiss photograph, this country club, a nice like foliage in the background and some fir tree. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. It's pretty. And he's dipping her and kissing her. And then this dude's just hanging out in his like jeans and cowboy boots in my photo. I was like,
it's always the best. Dude. Or like when you got some auntie in the background with like a Gen 2 iPad that's just this big and it's just there right over the groom's head. That's the good thing too.
I have noticed,
that's a don't.
Don't.
Wedding guests, don't bring your iPads to the wedding, please. Yeah. Don't do which camera? Don't bring your iPads to the wedding.
I will say that I feel a little hope for society. I thought about this earlier today, is because when I first started shooting weddings, it was like everybody had their phones out at weddings. Yeah. And you had to have a sign that said, this wedding's unplugged.
Right.
Put your phone away. But people generally now, I'm noticing, just don't bring their phones out during the ceremony. Either that means they are more mature and they understand we're just going to live in the moment, or they just don't care a lot about the bride and groom. I don't know which. But I feel good about it.
I think either of those are possibilities. I also think like folks have started to realize outside of the boomer generation where there's still some like they're just recording things to record it. Like they're like I had a wedding recently where there was just like this older couple, and they were just recording all the trees at this wedding, just going around with their phone, videoing all the trees.
Wow.
And then I'm sitting there going like, what are you
videoing the trees? Or
like they were, and then they'd review it, and the guy would be like, "That's good, babe. That was a really good job." And
do you think they were gonna like meditate to it?
I don't know, but then they didn't really record the couple, so maybe the shift is changing. Like they're gonna record the venue instead of the bride or the groom. But I have noticed that as well. I do think maybe what's happening is people are just realizing we're not going to use this footage for anything. There's no reason to record all this because.
Yeah,
we're not going to use it.
Right. Who's going back?
And looking through this.
What about what have you noticed? You see any things at weddings? Anything interesting with guests?
For do's and don'ts. Oh yeah, like
or just a fun,
Yeah, that too.
That was unique.
I did have an experience recently at a wedding we just shot where people showed up late. And instead of like, listen, there's tons of circumstances on why you would show up late. Like I'm not like being like, don't show up late, you loser. There's like traffic, there's accidents, who knows?
Yeah.
That's not the problem. The problem is when the procession has started and then you're coming into the ceremony and like not hitting the side, you're just like sneaking past the procession.
Better be holding some flowers.
It was like that is I'm looking at the camera for this one, Chris. That is a don't. Do not come down the aisle during the processional if you're a guest and you're late. Just chill in the corner.
I've found that a lot of people that would do that are watching our YouTube. That's our client. That's who's following this channel. The people who are coming in late to weddings.
That's possible. What about you? Do you have any other don'ts?
More don'ts. Sure. I mean, there was a mother of a bride once who I found this out the day of the wedding, but she didn't want the wedding to happen. Oh. Mother of the groom, sorry.
Mother of the groom. Okay.
She didn't want the wedding to happen, so she showed up in like a full white wedding dress and sat right there at the front corner,
Wait, a full white wedding dress? Sorry. Full white dress.
Just a full white dress.
Just a white gown.
She wasn't getting married that day. Right. No. And that was, the bride handled that very well, though. She was livid. So yeah.
She kept it composed, though.
Yeah.
Classy.
But I think if someone's wearing white to a wedding, they know what they're doing,
There was actually just a thing recently that went viral talking about like the brother's girlfriend, it was on Instagram, where basically like this woman intentionally wore white to a wedding just to piss off the bride. And it was like bad taste, bad form, bad taste. Don't wear white. That's her day. Right. Unless
it's before Labor Day.
Okay. For that. But we did have a bride last year who wore a Merlot red gown. Gorgeous.
Yeah.
Not a traditional white wedding dress. Beautiful dress. I think at that point then, if you know she's not going to do the classic white, you can wear white probably.
If you know.
If you'd know.
Yeah.
But I think she surprised everybody with it. It was great. I like that kind of stuff when brides are like, hey, we're going to go off the beaten path here and kind of break tradition and do something like that.
Oh, definitely.
I think it's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, can I tell a story about my favorite wedding guests?
Yeah.
Okay. It was a wedding in Atlanta, like a giant ballroom where it had a partition kind of wall separating, one side. So it's the wedding happening here, and on the other side of the wedding of the wall was a drag queen show.
Okay.
And at some point, and it was one of those. There were clients. I feel like I have a clientele that finds me, and then occasionally there's like these one-offs. And this was like a Star Wars themed wedding, which I don't think I realized.
I've got a story for you after this then. Okay.
Yeah, I think those just keep coming around. You know? George Lucas really had influence in the wedding industry.
It's the gift that keeps on giving. Really.
Yeah. So anyways, at some point, someone realizes the drag queen show's happening, and they just open up the partition. So you've got 200 wedding guests and now 150 guests plus drag queens, all just coming together. So the bride and groom were getting photos with these drag queens. It was awesome.
That's awesome.
But then I don't know why, but I got so interested in the drag queen, like, what do you call it, industry market? I don't know. In Atlanta, that I got some of their phone numbers, and I started shooting drag queen shows in Atlanta.
Nice.
And this is when I stopped talking. I'm like, what can I say? But
we gotta avoid names.
Yeah. Well, more than that. So I started shooting these drag queen shows, and I don't know if you've ever been backstage at a drag queen show.
I've not been backstage, but I have been at shows. It's exciting.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying it's confusing.
Oh, it's confusing.
Well, I didn't know how to feel, to be honest.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm backstage, and these guys, to be a drag queen, you still have to have all your bits and pieces. So I'm backstage, and there's guys with bits and pieces, and they've also got implants. And they're changing. I'm just like, I don't know how to feel right now. Is that too much?
No, I don't think so. I think did you photograph that part?
No. I was just trying to get to know
you were
people.
hanging out.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm real interested in this industry. Like, what's motivation? So I end up talking to this one drag queen. We become, I don't know, acquaintances, and we agree to hang out one night. We're just I just want to ask questions, understand. I feel like this sounds it's falling apart so fast.
It sounds great.
I want to move on. Anyways, so we meet up, or we're supposed to meet up at this place called my friend's place. Okay, it's a bar in Atlanta.
Yeah. Oh,
have you been there?
I haven't been there.
I don't know.
I've heard of it.
Okay, so I show up, and he doesn't come, but it's fine. Okay, so I'm sitting at the bar by myself, just I don't know, having a beer, eating peanuts or something. And thankfully, this older gentleman comes up, and he's like, "Hey, I'd like to buy you a beer." And I was like, well, why? And we chat a little bit. And then he invites me to do cocaine with him in the bathroom. And I was like, listen, sir, I appreciate the gesture, but I've never done cocaine, and this doesn't seem like the right time for me. But he's like, well, what if we go on the back porch? And I was like, I'll go with you. So anyways, I go on the back porch and I watch this guy do some cocaine. And that's really how it ended, but anyways, it all started at a wedding.
Wait a second. How did we get? All right, all right.
And that was it. I never went to another drag queen show after that.
That moment.
But I did
wait
learn
a second.
what cake fart is at some point during a drag queen show.
You got ghosted.
Yeah.
At
my friend's place.
At your friend's place, and then watched an older man do cocaine on the back porch.
Then, off a key. I don't know.
Off a key. Yeah, you can do key. I'm not going to talk about what you can do. But what you anyway. So, but then that ended your drag queen.
Well, I just didn't get invited back to any more shows to photograph. So
gotcha. That's sad, man. So wait, was it a hotel? What's this I'm confused by the partition situation.
It was actually like in an industrial area of Atlanta, like a big,
like a warehouse situation.
Yeah.
Okay. So like Marathon Music Works kind of a deal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, similar, very similar.
Solid.
So
Marathon Music Works in Nashville is like a big warehouse kind of venue. Got it.
Yeah. So there's not really any do's and don'ts there. It was just a fun time.
Yeah, you had a good time. Watched a man do cocaine. Was he okay afterwards? Was this
he seemed like a pro.
Yeah, he seemed I mean, if he's bumping off a key, he's doing okay.
Yeah.
He's having a good time.
So absolutely. Anyways,
let's see here.
Other don'ts. Let's do don't get too drunk at a wedding.
That's a good one.
We've seen that a few times.
Yeah, I think what happens with those situations is like my advice would be to take notes from the couple. Like if the couple's like, hey, we're all getting shit-faced and we don't know what's going to happen next.
Yeah.
Then it's kind of like, okay, we'll follow your lead if that's what you want to do. But don't jump the gun on that. And like, if everyone's pacing themselves because they're going out afterwards, don't be the couple or the guy or the girl who's like, I'm going to go all the way right now so that I can't keep my mouth closed by 9:30 p.m.
Yeah.
And I'm just drooling on myself. Don't do that.
What I think happens, and I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I think people go to weddings as guests and they, especially if it's an out of town wedding, they feel like they're moving into this fictional space that has no consequences
because it's not their thing.
I don't understand it quite. Maybe that's part
I think you're onto something. Keep going.
But they tend to make decisions at weddings as if it's not going to affect them tomorrow, whether that's excessive drinking, having sex in the bushes.
That happens a lot, actually.
So I understand why our podcast is explicit now.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
But I just think people are not aware that when they wake up tomorrow, they're going to have to live with the wedding.
What happened the night before. Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think that's true of, getting too drunk in general. But also when you're at a wedding, it's like, this is typically a somewhat formal event. It's a celebration of commitment of another couple. And, every wedding's culture is different. You're also bringing in two separate family cultures, which isn't always interesting. But if you're a guest, I do think you have an obligation to be like, I'm going to play it cool and read the room. Because otherwise, you're going to have to wake up the next morning and be like, I shouldn't have exposed myself the way I did last night. Whether that be
vulnerably.
I mean, emotionally, on the dance floor.
Oh man,
the amount of photos I've had to delete over the years where I'm just like, I shouldn't have been captured.
Things
exposed on the dance floor a lot.
I don't know if I've just a couple over the years.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel like it's often for me and
I think you're the one that takes those photos.
What photos?
Well, a while back we shot a wedding together, and this cowboy brought this bride out to do a backflip.
Oh yeah, I remember
I had to delete those photos.
Yeah, you did.
And then, this other wedding, I won't say when that happened.
Yeah.
But you took some photos of a bride in her pajamas and the wind just...
that's not my fault.
I'm
that's
just saying you take the photos.
And the photos before and after
are never like that.
Well, I'm just saying the photos before and after that were great.
Usable. Yeah, they're great. Yeah.
It's just that wind moment. You can't use those photos.
You can't, no.
Okay? And it's just wind.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know where we were.
I feel like I'm being judged a little bit by my.
I appreciate you just being able to get in there and take the photo.
We talked about taking photos during key moments, iPad moments. Don't do that. Pulling your phones out. And even I think that was a good point you made though about like culture seems to be shifting. Of like, I don't see a lot of. I agree. I don't see a lot of people pulling out phones.
Yeah.
I don't even see the need often nowadays, at least at my weddings, where folks have to make an announcement to be like, "Be present. We have professionals, et cetera, et cetera." No. I haven't seen a lot of that. That's been nice.
It is nice.
Let's see. I can. None of these are. I feel like we got. Arrive on time. We talked about that. Blah, blah, dress appropriately. Right. RSVP, participate. That's an interesting one. I think when I see people not participating, it's usually family. And it's usually like some, sulky, emo cousin that's like, his mom dragged him out of the basement so that he could get to the wedding. He hasn't seen the sun in a while. He's not happy about seeing the sun. Definitely not happy about being at the wedding. And then he's kind of like just off He's like drinking a Miller Lite and he's upset.
Well, I think for me, what's challenging is photographing guests. It's a small window, you know. So you've got all the getting ready stuff with bridesmaids, groomsmen, whatever, bridal party, bride and groom. But then your guests are there during the ceremony. But most of the ceremony is focused on the stage. You know, the people who are getting married. There's some times you get a few candid photos of the crowd. Yeah. But then really the bulk of wedding guest photos is going to happen during cocktail hour.
Yeah. Oh. You think cocktail hour?
I think cocktail. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
Cocktail hour because everyone's participating in cocktail hour. Everyone's there.
Everyone's drinking. You're saying.
Correct. Everyone's chatting. Usually the sun's still up.
Eating some appetizers.
Correct. But then once people start eating food, the meal, you're not photographing people eating.
No, never.
Nobody wants that. Even if I feel skilled enough that I'm not gonna get you putting the fork in your face. Yeah. Nobody wants me doing that.
I'd like to pose a question to the internet real quick. If you're a photographer that's taking photos during the meal while people are eating, no one may participate in this, but if you are, I'd really like to know what your thought process is around it and how you capture that well. Because we even tell our couples, when you eat, typically during dinner, because what are you going to use those photos for as a couple? Yeah. And how do you take good ones of people shoving rolls in their face and like getting salad dressing? And there's no delicate way to eat a salad.
Not in the eating, but there is, there's the classic photos of people passing trays back and forth.
Is there?
Yeah, definitely. Like with an 85 and like a long table, and like people if it's a family style meal and they're like passing a nice plate of whatever, I think that's a good photo. Sure. Anyways, I could go on about how there are photos I want to take during the mealtime. Okay. But it's limited. And then when the speeches happens, that's all speeches, blah, blah, blah. And you finally get to the dance floor. If people aren't dancing, I can't take their photo anymore. I want to come to your table when you're all sitting there just sulky, and I want to get that photo because I can make it artistic, but nobody wants me to do that. So then as a guest, if you participate in cocktail hour, I got you. Yeah. But after that, unless you hit the dance floor or you're outside doing something besides smoking a cigarette or vaping, there's no way for me to get your photo. Yeah,
that's a good point. I like that. I think that you actually do take some photos of those folks. There's one photo that comes to mind that you took. I don't remember when it was, but you convinced this older gentleman with this fantastic beard to allow you to put roses all throughout his beard and photograph him at his table. And those photos are fantastic. Yeah. Now, so those moments, and like for me, what I'll typically do is like and it is typically like either an interesting looking couple who's like very stylish or an older couple that just has like a romantic energy about them where you can tell they've been together a long time. There's a good chemistry there. It's not like the sulking, I don't dance type of situation. I'll capture those photos at the table because I always see those couples typically in black and white, and I like the way that edits for those situations. But I agree. If a couple's not out on the dance floor or they're not engaged in what's happening, I'm not taking
hard at that part because it's dark, and like the only way I'm going to get a good photo is with a flash, and it's gonna, I don't want to be rude.
There's no way to take those photos in a delicate manner. Or an unobtrusive way.
I like the word delicate. I just don't know how to apply it to the scenario. But delicate's very nice.
Delicate. Yeah, you're being intrusive most often because of the flash specifically. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's true. So all that to say, participate in the wedding. You don't have to dance, but at least be having a good time. And if you're not having a good time, stay away from my camera.
Or just try to not make bad decisions.
Be safe.
I remember being a guest at a wedding once. And I was, when I first started shooting weddings, I was brokenhearted about this girl that I thought I was going to marry.
I really like wherever this is headed.
You remember when you asked me whether first happened on the hitchhiking trip?
Yeah.
Well, I proposed to this girl in a cornfield in Nebraska. I basically hitchhiked to Nebraska to propose to this woman.
Hold on. All right, hold on. Wait. You can't just say, I proposed to a woman in a cornfield in Nebraska.
Yeah, I wrote a great poem about it, to be honest. I don't have it.
Okay, I was going to say maybe we should take a minute. Okay, so unpack that first before we move on to...
how much do I want to unpack that, to be honest?
In a safe way for the internet.
The brief, it's all safe, but the brief story is we met in college. She loved me. I loved her, blah, blah, blah. We just never got on the same page.
Okay.
At some point, I was like, no, this is what I want. But she had moved on.
Yeah.
She was working in a candle factory in Nebraska.
Okay, yeah.
Hastings, Nebraska, home of Kool-Aid for anyone that really cares.
It keeps getting stranger. All right, yeah.
Anyway, so instead of just being a normal person and just letting it go, I guess, I was like, hey, can I come see you? And she says yes. And that's when I bought my one-way ticket to Seattle.
Yeah.
And I hitchhiked to Nebraska.
Right.
And I proposed to her.
In a cornfield.
Yeah, in a cornfield.
Why the cornfield?
You've been in Nebraska?
Is there anything else?
Golf courses.
Okay.
But I wasn't into golf then. God, why did I start the story though?
We were talking about participating.
Oh, so anyways, I was just devastated. I couldn't get over this woman for years. It was terrible. I mean, I spent a lot of my 20s depressed.
Over this one girl?
Now listen, it's not worth going to. It would take too long. It's not worth.
What is happening?
Anyways, all I'm trying to say is when I got into the wedding market, I was still like trying to recover from her not wanting to marry me.
Okay.
And so every wedding I would go to, I would just weep, bro. I would be behind the camera. The bride's coming down the aisle just weeping. And people saw it. And I would just play it off like, it's just so beautiful. But
you're heartbroken.
I was heartbroken, yeah.
Okay.
Not anymore. Life is great.
No, yeah. I mean, I'm saying like in the moment. So wait, all right.
But I didn't even, keep going.
You've never, this is I knew about the hitchhiking.
Yeah.
I knew it was for a girl.
Yeah.
I did not know about proposing in a cornfield in Nebraska.
Yeah.
So wait, how did she say no?
I think the beginning of my poem starts, my heart is still buried in a cornfield, Nebraska. Something like that. Which maybe it's not a great poem.
That's just
yeah.
I mean,
anyways,
poetic in a 13-year-old boy in a cornfield in Nebraska sense.
Yeah. But
I mean, burying your heart out there.
Yeah.
It's a lot of pesticides.
You're right, dude. Monsanto owns my heart.
I'm just saying. Maybe not. But corn's not very romantic.
Corn?
Yeah.
No, soybeans.
Maybe.
Okay. So, anyways, a couple years into this wedding photography venture, I am a guest at a wedding.
Okay.
And I was sad. To be honest, I was sad. And this buddy named Ace, he and I just at the end of the night we just took all these beers, bro, from the wedding. And I had my golf clubs with me. Let's bring that in. And we just went, dude, and we just hit golf balls in the woods and drank beers and
it cried.
I cried. He just loved the moment.
He was supportive.
Yeah.
Ace
yeah.
and Iceman and
I think that's it. But I'm just saying, as a wedding guest, I've been there. I've been the single person. Even as the photographer, I've been there.
Crying?
Oh, yeah.
Heartbroken?
I don't do that anymore, but
I think I still cry.
Yeah, you're a sap.
Yeah, I am.
I
cry at like a really good, I have 3 daughters, so I cry at like a really good father-daughter moment.
Mm-hmm.
If there's like, because like, unfortunately, not all father-daughter moments are great. But when you get a good one, I'm hiding behind my camera until I can compose myself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's helpful, being able to hide behind the lens.
Yeah. You're not the only one. Matt Parker does that too.
Yeah. I mean, I imagine that if at this point you're a dad or just a strong empath, you're crying at a good wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think that's one of the beautiful things about weddings is like when you get those real human moments where like you have such good, like familial relationships.
It is nice when you can feel like it's a healthy family.
Yeah, you're just like, this is really beautiful. This is so genuine. You can tell they love each other so much. This dynamic is fantastic, and they just melts. It melts you. I like it.
Also, I would say some mother-son dances aren't great either. Like mine. At my wedding, my mom was dead. So I'm sorry. I just wanted to bring some dark humor to the whole world. So she wasn't there.
You're right. You didn't dance. No, because she was dead.
Yeah.
You had a dead mom at that point.
Well, that about wraps it up. No. All right, let's keep going.
That's good. That's a great place to end it. Your dead mom is a great place to end the pod.
Love you, Sandy Jones.
Wait, but now I'm trying to remember. Did you dance with anybody?
My sister.
You danced with your sister.
Yeah,
there it was.
Nice.
Yeah, I was
nice.
there, but I was kind of in the back.
Yeah.
And had some drinks.
Yeah.
So, yep. Tune in next time for another episode of On Occasion with Chris and Canaan.
We'll be here. You should be here too.
But Chris's mom won't be.
Just in spirit. It's the Orthodox cross. I like that more than the Catholic cross. Well, we love
Fantastic.
you.
Yeah.
See you somewhere.
Find us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, anywhere you listen to podcasts. And we really hope that you enjoyed these stories. And we didn't even get through half of the stories that we had talked about. So we'll put those on the next one.
Yeah. And you can hire us both. Canes with details. I'm its own Clover. But, cash is king.
Right.
Get us both.
If your money's green. Anyway, we'll probably cut this part out.
I hope so.
Anyway, take care, y'all. Thank you so much. It's been real.
Peace.
Catch you next time.